The Monsanto Corporation focuses its efforts on agriculture, and now the Monsanto Fund is focusing on rural areas where their products are put to use. Next on Show Me Ag. Welcome to Show Me Ag. I'm your host, Kyle Vickers. Thanks for joining us. Monsanto is one of the most powerful and important corporations in the world, and they're headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. They have focused their efforts on biotechnology for agriculture, and most Missouri farms are applying technology developed in Monsanto laboratories on farms across the Midwest. The Monsanto Fund, a foundation springing from the parent company, has decided to fund projects in the rural areas where their products are put to work. Jake Schlitt is a local Monsanto manager working out of Marshall, Missouri, and he's here to tell us more about some of their programs to reach out to rural communities. Jake, thank you for joining us. I want to be sure I've got the history right. Monsanto used to be more of a broad spectrum chemical drug company, but they've really focused on agriculture and biotechnology.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I mean, at its start, Monsanto was primarily a chemical company, but here today, we're company 100% committed to agriculture and primarily on seeds and traits and developing those technologies.
Really the seed business, it seems like to me, in agriculture is where it's at. It's the development of seeds with different kinds of traits, whether it's to withstand drought or to fight off insect damage. It seems like the seed business is really where it's at.
Yeah, I think there's it's an exciting industry. There's two parts of it. There's the genetics, developing new hybrids and new varieties, and then also the biotech traits of it, and both are really, it takes those two things working together to come up with.
And this is something that in the last few years, nearly all farmers across the world have adopted some of these biotechnology uses in their crop operations. Yeah,
I mean, definitely. I mean, biotech, whenever you start off with Roundup Ready soybeans, years ago, there's a huge acceptance of that technology because it worked well, and brought a lot of benefit to the farmer and grower and put dollars in their pocket at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, I think if I understand right, about 97% of farmers are using some kind of Roundup Ready seed and using that program for weed control.
Yeah, I'd say that sounds about right.
So now the Monsanto Fund, which is sort of the foundation arm of the Monsanto company, has started to put some money back in rural areas. Tell us a little bit how that evolved, and then we'll take a look at one.
Yeah, well, I think with Monsanto, our customer base, farmers are our customers, and we're committed to helping farmers, and whether that's through providing new traits and new technology, or giving some charitable dollars back into their communities to organizations that are important to them.
Well, several of these have actually been in this viewing area for KMOS. We actually had a chance to visit Miami, Missouri, and speak with representatives of their school. They serve grades K through 8 with a student body made up of 43 children and 15 staff people. Providing students with the necessary skills to succeed when they move on to high school and beyond has its challenges in such a small school, but thanks to Monsanto's America's Farmers Grow Rural Education program, they have one more resource to help prepare their students.
Mr. Best, our past administrator, is the one who actually filled out the application. He, along with two of our other teachers, we had another communication arts teacher, math teacher, science teacher that helped fill out the application as well. And farmers also had to nominate the school district for this application. Once the application was submitted, then there's a 3-tier process in terms of reviewing the applications. There's an online assessment that is reviewed online, and then they also have, I believe, some science and math teachers who are ineligible to participate and apply for the grant get to review it as well. And then there's a Farmers Advisory Council, I believe, also. So I believe there were about 176 schools that received this grant within the nation, and 11 of those schools came from the state of Missouri, and we are one of those schools.
Oh, I think it's important for the community. We're a very small community, and the school is the biggest part of this community. technology is getting a little older. In the science room, we just have tables, and we were both really wanting to get lab tables because they are burn resistant, stain resistant, easier to keep clean, and would be just more useful in the classroom than regular tables. I think Mr. Best was motivated to write the proposal because he saw the need for, especially in the lower classrooms, more technology. Kids are needing to learn to use technology more and more, and so we're trying to get more in the lower grades where there's not as much. In the upper grades we have some, but we really are wanting to get the younger kids where they have more access to technology.
In addition to the science lab stations for the classroom, we will be purchasing 2 interactive boards, which is kind of like smart boards, and they're just going to be placed in some primary classrooms that teach science and math. You know, technology is very engaging to students, and then being able to actually interact and touch the boards and utilize that within their education, it will hopefully enhance their education as a whole and help with their learning. Hopefully it'll stick better.
I think the money from the grant will help make my classroom where we can do more hands-on activities. Research has showed that kids do learn from being able to do hands-on activities, so I think that will help in the science aspect greatly.
Some of the limitations that rural K-8 school districts have is, yes, we do have the smaller class sizes, but we have teachers teaching 1st and 2nd grade. We have our science teacher also teaches social studies, and we have somebody who teaches 1st grade as well as technology, as well as our counselor. So, you know, we wear many hats at this school to make it run efficiently and effectively. And, you know, unfortunately with technology, once you purchase something, it's always outdated. So it's going to help us in terms of keeping on top of technology and giving our students the opportunities that a lot of larger school districts get to offer their children and their students in their schools. At the same time, you know, with the interactive boards and the lab stations, it'll allow our students to have practice more of their kinesthetic learning, more of their hands-on learning, and hopefully enhance their education.
Well, Monsanto started this project a year ago as a pilot program and decided to take it to 39 states. We have had Grow America communities going on for quite a while, where we give $2,500 grants away to any nonprofit organization that farmers can nominate. And they just felt that they should give back to the rural education. I feel like the more money we can bring to Saline County or to our region is wonderful, instead of, you know, letting it go other places. Helps our kids out. These are the kids that could possibly be working for Monsanto, so to have it here at home is really nice.
I think it's important that Monsanto supports rural education because we're investing back in the communities that invest in us each year, and it's very important to bring the next generation of leaders up and put them on the best start as possible.
We would like to thank Monsanto, you know, because it's because of their generous donation and for sponsoring a grant like this that helps rural school districts out. You know, it's very much appreciated. In addition, we need to thank our farmers in our community because, you know, they did nominate us, and just our community as a whole, because they're very supportive. They always come together to support our students in the school.
Well, Jake, obviously the small school, they're going to really benefit from there, and that's kind of in your home area, Saline County.
Yeah.
Tell us, I guess let's look at the mechanics of this first. The farmers nominate. Let's talk a little bit about how, because there's another round coming up.
That's right. So, yeah, with the American Farmers Grow Rural Education, the way the process works is the farmer, any farmer is eligible to nominate a school district, and once that school district is nominated, they're contacted by Monsanto and asked to write a grant. At that point, they write a grant up for whatever the cause might be. In Miami's case, they were purchasing some smart boards and some other technology and lab tables for their science room. And then those grants are reviewed by a couple different panels. And one of those is made up of high school and math teachers from ineligible school districts. So they review those and they go on to a farmer advisory council, and they select the school districts and award the grants. So.
Well, it's really appropriate that this is going for a science project in a small school, because I know, and in fact, you're from a farm background. I know a lot of the people in Monsanto come from rural backgrounds where they grew up on farms and so on. So it's really appropriate that we're applying this in science.
Yeah, definitely. Monsanto, I mean, is definitely a science-based company. You and also, as you mentioned, a lot of people working for Monsanto who have come from rural areas, have a rural background. So it's great to see Monsanto having a commitment and helping put dollars back into these small rural communities and rural school districts and helping educate.
She mentioned that there were, I believe, 11 places in Missouri that got this grant, but there are some in our viewing area fairly close to us here. Can you talk to us about some of the other grant awards that were made?
Yeah, so there's a Miami School District, which was discussed, and then there were several other, I believe, Lone Jack. I know it was 11 school districts in all. Three of those received $25,000 grants, and the others received a $10,000 grant.
And so this starts off with a farmer nominating the school, and then it's up to the school to fill out the application for this.
That's right. So yeah, it starts with the farmer nominating their school district, and then at that point it's left up to the school district to write the grant up and take it from there.
And that deadline is approaching, I believe, for this school program. Is the farmer needs to nominate by a certain date?
Yeah, so the farmer would need to nominate by the end of November.
Okay. And how can they do that online?
Yeah, so they can go to Farmers or America's Farmers Grow Rural Education and follow the link from there. And also, if you go to Monsanto.com, you can find links for those websites as well.
Now, we did a show about a year ago. There was some grant money for one of these not-for-profit companies that's rebuilding communities. So there's one for schools and one for communities. That one for communities is still available, right?
That's right. So Monsanto has a couple different programs. The one you're addressing there would be our, basically it's a site-driven grant program through the Monsanto Fund. The way that works is the nonprofit in the community comes to us and says, hey, we have this project that we would like to apply for a grant for. They submit those grants to us. We review them and pass those along to our leadership team in St. Louis, and they look at all those from our side as well as all the other sites, and then award those grants. And in Saline County and at the Marshall side, over the last 5 years, we've been fortunate to have some great causes to give to, and have been able to give upwards of $150,000 there in Saline County to our local EMS or fire department, Butterfield Youth Services, which is a great organization.
So any farmer, is there some restriction? Is there a certain acreage or something that makes a farmer eligible?
So for the America's Farmers Grow Rural Education and America's Farmers Grow Rural Communities, I believe I'll say they need to be 21 years old and farm at least 250 acres of row crops, or if you're farming vegetable production, it's a lot smaller acreage, I think around 10 acres.
So farmers start this process by nominating, and they need to be doing that between now and the 1st of,
That's right.
the 1st of December and then the 1st of January for the other one. So, well, let's talk more in sort of general terms about Monsanto. You've been with them a few years after graduating from the University of Missouri.
Yes, sir.
And interesting that we were visiting earlier, you spent some time out in Hawaii growing corn. I'm not sure people realize that that's a corn state. It's not one of our normal ones, but tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, whenever you think about Hawaii, you don't think about it being a corn-producing state, and it's certainly not a commercial corn-producing state. But as far as seed corn production goes, Hawaii is very critical to seed corn production, and Monsanto, Syngenta, Pioneer, Dow Mycogen, all the big seed companies all have operations out there in Hawaii. So it was really an interesting and great place to work, and I was out there for just under 3 years and really enjoyed it. And it's a great experience.
I know it's really easy for us as farmers to focus on our local area and sometimes maybe expand that to state or Midwest, but really agriculture is worldwide. I know you're mentioning that some of your seed, depending on the season, would go to South America, and then the opposite season would be going to North America, to Iowa farmers perhaps, or Missouri farmers. It's really a worldwide project, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, and within Monsanto, we're trying to bring new genetics and new traits to market as soon as possible. And so in the Midwest, we have one growing season, and down in South America there's an alternate growing season. And then in Hawaii, you can plant a corn crop any day of the year. So by utilizing those counter season production areas such as South America and Hawaii, we're able to increase those lines and advance that production and get it to market as soon as possible.
As we've had this real dry summer here in the Midwest, I know corn was actually being shipped from Brazil into the east coast of the United States to meet the corn supplies, and then I'm sure there'll be products moving to South America. It's a much more integrated global economy than it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, as time goes on, I mean, it's a global economy, and it's global agriculture. So
when we talk about the biotechnology. There's some controversy about that. People call them GMOs, for genetically modified organisms. Scares some people. California, Proposition 37, I believe, wasn't going to ban them, but require labeling. Tell us a little bit about that. I know Monsanto took a very active role in fighting that proposition.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, the proposition didn't pass, so I was happy to hear that. As far as labeling products as containing GMO materials, to me, I think that perpetuates the falsehood that GMOs are unhealthy for you, or not good for you. And so that's why I was happy to see that the good people of California agreed and voted that proposition down. So
it would have been an issue in the food system, because California is such a big population state that the food companies, they really couldn't segregate that and say, well, we're just going to ship labeled products to California and unlabeled products somewhere else.
That's right.
So I'm going to ask a facetious question. Do you believe that GMOs are safe?
I do. I do believe GMOs are safe. I definitely believe that. I think they're. And
yet, to me, and we're using some of these products on our farm, particularly to control insects, but also the Roundup Ready and so on. It seems like in a very difficult circumstance like we had this year with the drought, where a worldwide shortage of some of our basic crops, we really add to our supply and help feed the world by adopting some of these.
Yeah, I think so. Technology's come a long ways. Earlier this fall, I was around the combine with a grower, and he was out there and he was cutting. It was 30 bushel corn, which is nobody's too proud of 30 bushel
below
corn,
average, yeah.
Right? But certainly, he said 15 or 20 years ago, he would have been out there with the disc instead of the combine, and he attributed that to the genetics and the traits that are available in today's seed.
And yet, I know we're not done yet. I know that there's constantly development, and one of the big things, especially after this year, all the companies are coming out with some sort of corn that they, at least are advertising, will withstand drought better. And you folks have had some progress in that regard as well.
Yes, I know we had some drought guard hybrids out in some plots this year and had saw good things out of those plots. So there'll be drought guard hybrids available for launch next year, and so we're excited to see that. I think there's some good technology there that really helps the plant better utilize the water that it has available. Corn's not going to grow in concrete, and it has to have some moisture, but I think what we have there is a...
What products do you see coming down the line? That's a big one, because we've had 2 years of drought, climate change, we don't know what's coming down the road. What are some of the products that you see, first of all, that Monsanto sees maybe developing, but also what do farmers need? They just continue to increase yields to keep up with population.
So I think one, like we're talking about the drought guard hybrids. That's going to be great to see out in the marketplace. And the other big launch we have coming up is dicamba tolerant soybeans, and along with that dicamba tolerant corn or cotton.
For those of us who don't understand that, talk a little bit more about that.
So we've had Roundup Ready plants for a long time now, and starting to have more trouble controlling weeds out in growers' fields. So the dicamba Roundup Ready to Extend system, what that does, it puts another tool in that grower's pocket to use to help control weeds, because weeds in his fields, because those are, as you being a farmer, you understand that part of it.
Anybody that has driven through the country this year realizes we really hit a wall on the weed resistance to Roundup, because we've been used to using Roundup once or twice through the growing season and just having a completely clean field. And boy, this year that really hit us. And so it's a certain kind of weed that has developed resistance, and one of the agronomists told me that particular weed can develop 1 million seeds from one plant, and that there's a good chance that 10% of them will be resistant to Roundup. So you're going to try to resolve that problem with new seeds or new chemical.
So it's going to be both. So we have a new trait that's going to be available, dicamba tolerant soybeans, and then also I'll think of the chemical name here shortly, but with dicamba in the past, some of the early formulations of that chemical were really volatile and were very susceptible to being moved over to a grower's fields through wind and such. But we're also going to be launching a new formulation in dicamba that we're going to launch along with our dicamba tolerant soybeans. That's a low volatility formulation that we feel like with that, along with some best management practices that we're going to be working with our growers and dealers to educate them on, that we're going to have a good product out there that, like I said, it's really going to put a great tool in that grower's pocket to help us better control our weed management.
Roundup, like I said, I think I mentioned earlier, 97% of farmers reportedly are using Roundup. It's actually one of the safer chemicals, and when I think about what we replaced, chemicals that we later found out were pretty not only volatile but kind of dangerous, pretty hot chemicals, I guess. And Roundup's actually a pretty safe method of controlling weeds, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think Roundup, at its base, it's basically a complex soap, so it's really a safe chemical, and it's been it still is a great product. Even though we see Roundup-resistant water hemp and Palmer amaranth, those are tough weeds, but as we see those out in the country, Roundup still controls a lot of weeds, and still a great chemical and a great tool to use.
You're working primarily in soybeans right now.
Yes, sir.
You worked in the seed corn production, you said, in Hawaii.
Yeah.
What do you see in the soybeans? I think people don't realize, they say, well, we don't eat soybeans, but if 40 or 50% of the products in the grocery store are soybean based.
Yeah.
So what do you see coming in the soybean side?
Yeah, so there, sorry, say that. What was the?
What do you see coming down the pike on the soybean side? We talked a little bit more about corn and the drought guard and so on. Are the soybeans harder to breed effectively and to get that kind of increase we can get with corn hybrids?
So with soybeans, you have with corn hybrids, you have a hybrid production there. So with soybeans, they're self-pollinating plants, and so it's a different process for developing those new varieties. But we've had a lot of good success with our Roundup Ready to Yield soybeans, and so we think we're going to see some. And one thing about it being in seed production, we have opportunity to see some of those new varieties before they're launched commercially. And with some of these new numbers we have coming out, we've had some really good results with, and are proving themselves well. So.
As I understand, Missouri, I think soybeans are still Missouri's #1 crop.
Yeah.
Whereas Iowa, I think it's corn, but we're still pretty heavily in soybeans. What did you see this year in yields up in your area? And you have growers that are growing foundation seed for Monsanto across the western Missouri.
Yeah, that's right. So we're our crop plan, we're spread out basically from Mississippi River over to St. Joe. And a lot of our production is all north I-70. We have some growers down in your part of the world, and also some seed production out in Kansas. But overall, I think we're going to be at 36, 37 bushel acre average. So last year I think we averaged around 45 bushel an acre. So we're set, a few bushels off average.
So a little off, but still better than we might have expected considering the hot summer we had.
At one point there in summer, things looked pretty grim, and we got some late showers, and August rains can really make a bean crop. And they certainly did. I'm glad we got the rain when we got it.
I think that as we're taping this, at least there was a USDA report that came out this morning showed that the actual nationally, the soybean average came up from what was expected, a couple of bushel per acre, which is a big difference.
Yeah.
And then what about your overseas operations? I know some of these GMO products have met some resistance in other places in the world, particularly in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, so overseas, that's a big marketplace for us, and things are opening up. I think that the benefits of biotechnology traits are being better perceived by a global community than what they have been in the past, and they're starting to see the advantages there, and those marketplaces are opening up. So.
Well, speaking as a Missouri farmer, I tell you, I appreciate what Monsanto is doing, putting this money back into rural communities. We've done a couple of shows about funding for rural schools, and it's very difficult for some of these smaller schools and yet their population density is such that they better to have local schools than to have to truck them for miles and miles. So appreciate what you're doing for our rural communities and for these rural schools.
Yeah.
So my thanks to Monsanto on behalf of Missouri rural residents, I guess.
Well, thank you very much. I feel very proud to be working for a company like Monsanto. We got great products. They're a great company, and have a real commitment to agriculture and farmers and rural communities. So it's great to see Monsanto putting those dollars back into rural education and rural communities.
And the farmers can go to your website, find an opportunity to nominate your a local charitable organization or a local school and make this happen maybe in their community.
That's right, yeah. So they go to Monsanto.com or AmericasFarmers.com, follow the prompts from there. Certainly encourage farmers to get out there and fill out those applications and nominate your school districts.
In the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for tonight, but I'd like to say thanks again to Jake for being with us tonight, and thanks to Lori Price and everyone at the Miami R1 School District for letting us visit with them as well. But before we go, we'd also like to thank you, our viewers, for tuning in to Show Me Ag. We hope you'll tune in next time for another look at a topic touching rural Missouri. For everyone here at KMOS and myself, good night. We're also very interested in what you have to say, so if you have any feedback you'd like to share with us, email us at showmeag@kmos.org, or you can find us on Facebook.